Hi, welcome to AwkwardHamster. Today I'll be talking about the Honda CRV rear seat not collapsing when I pull on the lever. Now, this will be a pretty long video. The first part of this video, I'm going to talk about the problem and how to temporarily address it. And the second part of the video, the much longer piece, I'm going to try to show how I fixed it. The one that's on the passenger side, that I already fixed. So you'll see some zip ties. On the driver's side, this one's not fixed. What I'll be showing is how to temporarily bring it down. And don't really need much tools. For example, I did not have my screwdriver with me, a flat screwdriver. I can just use my car keys or my house keys. Here, I'm gonna use a screwdriver just because it'll be easier for me to point it out and demonstrate with it. And let me first show the problem. When I pull on this, the seat should fold forward. So I'm pulling this, the seat remained up. What should happen is when I pull on this lever, the seat should fold forward. I'm gonna use a screwdriver as a pointer. This part, this is clamping onto this part over here. So to temporarily bring it down, what I do is I take my keys or a flat screwdriver or anything flat and thin, and I just basically wedge it here and then just pry it upward. Try going a little bit like left and right, like this. Left and right if you're not familiar with it. And that way, once you bring it all the way up, then it'll release itself from that hook or that metal, I don't know what it's called. Then the seat will come down. And show that again here. Bring it downward. Pry it up. Sometimes I pry it up, wiggle, lower and more deeply into it. Pry up some more, like this. So now this is the driver's side where the problem exists. The back CP does not go down. And just remember, don't insert the flat piece, the flat screwdriver or the key too far in. Maybe just like half an inch or so. And when inserting it, since we're looking at it from this perspective, with the seat up, see this reflective of steel piece? Insert it towards the left of it, which is just closer to the window. Do not insert it to the right of it because here it's more of a cavity. So this side, and if I were to insert too much, well then I'll be hitting the other bar. So maybe just half an inch, wiggle. Oh, one other thing is having two hands is much easier because one of the other hands will be pushing the seat forward. Since I'm holding the camera with my other hand, I'll just use my feet to try to push the seat forward. And here I'm going to try to shimmy. And try to bring the seat up. There. So what I did was before was I inserted and I tried to shimmy that piece upward. I'm going to demonstrate again with the passenger side and also with using the car key. Remember to use your other hand to push the seat forward, hand or feet. Here's a look at it from that perspective. Just get it in there, tilt it up. There. The ideal tool is to use a flathead screwdriver. If you don't have a flathead screwdriver, yes, your car key can be used. The downside to using a car key is that for some cars, the metal piece is very frail, very thin, or either that or right here, where the metal connects to the plastic, that part might snap off. And to replace one of the car keys is not cheap. It's like, what, $75? Now, using a house key, the house key is very inexpensive, easy to replace, but the problem with the house key is that I can't really get enough leverage. If I insert it, try to twist it, try to get enough leverage on it. It's a lot more difficult. Using the new modern house keys, yes, I couldn't get the leverage, but these keys I cannot just go to Lowe's and get it replaced. I have to go to the lock manufacturer. So I would not recommend using the more modern house keys. That concludes the first part of the video where I demonstrate how to bring the back seat down when I'm in a bind. Now the second part of the video is how I resolve the issue. I did not resolve it using Honda parts. I spent maybe at most $5. The Honda component, this part that gets replaced, that costs around, I think it's like 70 some odd dollars before shipping and tax. I just didn't want to pay that. For the second part of the video, I'll still need a flat screwdriver. I will need zip ties, and the zip tie that I'll be using are the thinner ones. As I use it and demonstrate it, I'll explain why I'm using the thinner ones instead of the thicker, sturdier ones. And scissors or clippers. I need to remove this piece of the seat, whether it be on the passenger side or the driver's side. I'm gonna show two ways of doing it. First way is you can remove the tabs here and then pull this piece out. If you don't have any screwdriver or you're afraid of damaging the tabs, I'll show another method. The flat screwdriver, this is used here. I'm gonna use it to essentially pry these two tabs off. I'm just first pop it up higher a bit. I should really use two hands for this. And once it's not so flush against that, then what I'll then do is I don't cut it off. I essentially just insert the scissor here and then leverage it and pop it out. I need to use two hands. I need to put the camera down for this. Here's an example of what I meant by using the scissor as a leverage tool. That way I'm pressing both the left and right side of it and wedging it outward towards me. I'm not going to close, I'm not going to clamp down on this. I'm not trying to cut this off. I'm just trying to wedge it out. See, from this angle, it's starting to come out a little bit more. So this was the piece that was there. Save this, don't lose this. If you have like a Ziploc bag, put the excess pieces or the pieces you take out in a Ziploc bag so they don't get lost. I'll place it there for now. And then I'll need to do the same thing for this. This part, I first grab it from the side that I loosened. I'm just pulling it. Here's a look from another perspective. I first pull this towards me, and then I yanked, essentially just pulled it out. This is what it looks like on the inside of it, and it's connected to these metal pieces. So this is the other method of removing this component without any sort of tools. Take this part and push it a little bit in towards the center of the vehicle, and then pull upward. So it's essentially a towards the ceiling light, for example, the roof light. Push it in and grab it on both corners and pull it up. Came off. For this side, I'll need to apply equal leverage and pull it out straight. Not at an angle. I don't want to break these tabs, but straight this way. I can hold on to the tab so that doesn't come flying out, but I'm just going to pull it straight. Just the plastic piece, not the metal piece. Okay. Just take these off. This is what it looks like. And the reason why for the first step I said pointed this way towards the ceiling center light is because of these tabs. This is what clips it to the vehicle. So if I'm pushing it towards the middle, I'm essentially shifting this that direction. And to place it in is just the same thing in reverse. I'll place this part down first. Then for these pieces, I'm just going to push. I can just push it with my hand. Now securely in place. Right. Now the broken part is that piece. If you're very skilled, very crafty, you may not even need to remove the seat covering off. But I did when I first replaced this, and what I'm doing now is I'm also going to essentially loosen this piece here just so I can pull this back and access this compartment easier. There's a zipper over here towards the base. Just pull this part up and use this to unzip it. Once it's been unzipped, I have more slack here. So now I can easily access this part. Just pull this piece out. You can see that up here, that's the part that broke off. I'm not sure where the other broken piece is. Not that it really matters. But the way this works is the lever up top. Every time I pull that, I'm gonna pull the lever on top. See how it's yanking this upward towards the top? When it pulls up, it should be pulling this upward too for the release. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first remove this plastic piece. And it's easier if I just do it after taking this thing completely out. So I'm going to, try to do it with one hand. I only need two hands for this. But what I'm going to do is remove this component away from the wire thing. And to do that, I just need to, it lines up very neatly too. There. Need to do it for the other side too. Get the cable here first. There. Now that I have this, I'm going to chisel the plastic piece away from the metal piece. The way I'm going to remove the plastic piece is I'm going to use a flat screwdriver and a hammer and just start chiseling it off. If you have like pliers, you can start breaking off the plastic piece if you want to. Either way, it's fine. If I were to like chip or hit the metal piece too hard, it's not going to damage it. I'm not going to hit it straight on perpendicular. I hit it at an angle. So if I scratch the metal piece, it's not that big of a deal. The point is, I want to chip the plastic piece off the metal piece. There, got the plastic piece off. The reason I removed the outer plastic shell is because that part was broken. I still need to secure this metal piece with this part, and I'm going to do that with zip ties. When I first did this a few months ago for the other side, the mistake I made was that I used a thicker zip tie. I figured this is a moving component. I want it to last longer. And the mistake was because it was thicker, there was less wiggle room over here. Sometimes we get caught up on something. So use the thinner zip tie. And so far it's been what, 5 months or so, and that's still held up. Use 2 thin zip ties. Color does not matter. And since I'm on this side of the vehicle, it'll be like this going in there. If I was on the other side, it would be the mirror image of this. The first thing I need to do is place the metal wire. I gotta loop it back in. The wire's been attached. And now what I'm going to do is place this back into this cavity and position it so that this flat piece is on the inside of this lever, this latch. And once it's on the other side of the latch, I'm going to thread the zip tie. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 openings. It'll be the second one from the bottom, this more trapezoidal one, not the oval shaped one, but this one right here. I'll be threading it through here, going through this center hole of the middle piece and the rightmost hole of the middle piece. Then I'll be using either, if my finger's thin enough, or if it's not, then I'll be using another zip tie to reposition the top piece of the zip tie to come back out through this part. That way I can tighten the zip tie and lock it up. And keep in mind, use the zip tie that's thin. I tried thicker ones before and I just had to redo my work because when I tried to pull on the lever, it would not operate smoothly since it kept rubbing against other items that's in here. Finally got through. I had to use pliers to help pull the zip tie out from the top area. And when I tie the zip tie up, I'm not gonna tie it up completely like tight the first time. I'm tying it up a bit and then try to position this piece, the locking mechanism, more towards this cavity here. The reason I'm doing that is because there's more room there, so that at least when I'm pulling on the lever, this thick piece is not going to be scraping against anything. Here I'm trying to show how I'm tying it. I tighten a little bit, then I reposition it, so pushing it back downward so that the thicker part of the locking mechanism is within this cavity. Tie some more. Tie this piece up some more. Maybe you can get away with just one zip tie, but I'd rather use two since the zip ties I'm using are very thin. Now let me pull on the lever on top here and see if this one rides. All right, good. I'm gonna trim off this excess piece. Before I put my tools away, before I close everything up, test it. Reset the seat and pull on the lever. Great, it works. Overall, I think what I did costs less and takes less time to fix. Because if I were to actually replace that mechanism, I would need to take the leather part of the seat off in order to unscrew everything to take that mechanism out. And I think that would take a lot more time, a lot more effort. I have not tried it, and the part is not cheap. Last I checked, it was about $70 before shipping and tax. If I find the item or the part number, I'll place it in the description below. But overall, I spent, I was also recording this video, but I think any person will probably spend about a half hour to an hour doing it for the first time. The zip tie, they're inexpensive. They can be purchased at Lowe's, Harbor Freight for, if you don't need to buy a bunch, just spend like $5 or less. And remember, don't make the same mistake I did. Use a thin zip tie. If you don't think the thin zip tie will hold up, use two. If you don't have thin zip tie, just use one. Test with one first. If it's smooth unlocking, locking it up and unlocking it, then just try two. If two doesn't work out, snip one of them and just stick with one. And before you close everything up, test it. All right, so this was a video on how to fix the rear seat for a Honda CRV that does not recline when someone pulls on the lever. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching Awkward Hamster.